Section 1. Hey guys, tonight we're taking you on a journey through one of the most dangerous chapters in American history, the Oregon Trail. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of civilization, eager to escape the crowded streets of your town for a new life out west. You can feel the fresh air, the freedom, and the promise of a better future beckoning. The wagons are packed, and the horizon stretches ahead. You're ready? Or are you? Well, here's the catch. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And don't forget to share where you are and what time it is in your part of the world tonight. I always love hearing from you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've made your decision. The promise of fertile land, a new life, and the thrill of the unknown is calling your name, and you've agreed to make the trek west. It's 1843, and the Oregon Trail is the lifeline to the western frontier. Around 400,000 people will make the same decision, but few will make it through unscathed. As you leave the familiar bustle of your town behind, you can already taste the sweetness of the freedom that it awaits. The air smells like possibility, a stark contrast to the smog and dust of industrial cities. You're not alone. Families, pioneers, and settlers all share the same optimism. But here's where the first hint of your fate becomes clear. You've left the comforts of home, but not the dangers of the trail. The Oregon Trail is about to show you what true survival means, and it's not going to be pretty. Before the wheels of your wagon even start to roll, you'll realize something terrifying. It's the unknown that will likely kill you, not the things you're running toward. Historians still argue whether it was the incessant diseases, the weather, or simply poor planning that made the journey so deadly. But one thing's for certain, you didn't really know what you were signing up for. Sure, you've packed your supplies, but what happens when they run out? And let's not even talk about the wild animals lurking nearby. So you head out, eager but completely unaware of the horrors ahead. The first few days are easy. Wide, flat plains and the excitement of the adventure make it feel like it'll be smooth sailing. You might even start humming a tune to pass the time. But don't get too comfortable. You've just set yourself on a path where every single step could be your last. Awaiting, continue. The excitement of starting this new chapter is palpable. You can almost feel the fresh wind on your face, the open road calling you forward. But as the first few days blur by, you begin to notice something unsettling. The land you're crossing isn't as kind as you thought it would be. What once seemed like an endless horizon now feels like a never-ending stretch of arid nothingness. The trail that once seemed like an open invitation to opportunity has quickly become an obstacle course, designed not to welcome you, but to test your every limit. You begin to realize that, while you may have dreamed of fertile land, you're not even close to it yet. The promise of paradise ahead is just that, an illusion. The real Oregon Trail is relentless and unforgiving. The terrain itself seems to mock you. There are stretches of land where every step is an exhausting challenge. The soil is hard, the earth dry and cracked, and the dust kicks up into your lungs with every breeze. Horses and oxen groan with exhaustion, and even the ground beneath your feet feels like it's pushing back, testing your resolve. Historians still argue over the difficulty of the terrain. Was it the land itself that made the trail so brutal, or was it simply the lack of preparation that killed so many travelers? Either way, the reality is the same. You're ill-prepared, and the trail is harder than you thought. You see, the Oregon Trail wasn't a single straight line stretching across the country. It was a winding maze of unpredictable paths, where one wrong turn could send you hundreds of miles off course. And you don't have a map or a GPS, so you're stuck following landmarks that might be hours or even days away. Even when you do finally get your bearings, you face challenges you weren't prepared for. Mountains rise in the distance, blocking your view of what you thought was a clear route. It's the first time you realize that, in nature, things rarely go according to plan. And the weather? Well, it's not much better. If you thought the scorching sun was your worst enemy, wait until the rain hits. Torrential downpours start turning the trail into a slick, muddy mess, making travel even more miserable. And that's before you factor in the possibility of flash floods. Historians often debate the exact toll weather took on the journey. Was it the constant heat and dust, or the unrelenting storms that broke the spirits of so many? But here's the thing. It doesn't matter what killed more people. What matters is that you're stuck in it now, and there's no way out except forward. Your wagon isn't exactly helping either. You were told it was essential for carrying supplies, but now it feels like more of a burden. It slows you down, getting bogged down in mud or getting caught in deep ruts. It's not just your body that's aching anymore. It's your mind, too. The incessant challenges, the unknowns, the aching bones, everything about this journey is exhausting you, and it hasn't even gotten truly difficult yet. You wonder, briefly, whether this journey is really worth it. But forward you go. The illusion of something better keeps you moving. You see the others around you, families, farmers, adventurers, all of them struggling as hard as you are, and it gives you the smallest comfort. After all, misery loves company, right? Still, with each day you walk, each mile you cover, you begin to wonder if you'll ever get there. And what if you don't? Awaiting continue. Section 3. By now, the novelty of the journey is fading, replaced by the undeniable weight of reality. Every new day starts to feel like an endless repeat of the last. Miles of dry plains, the same dreary, sun-scorched landscape, and the constant strain of the trail. Your legs ache, your hands are raw from gripping the reins, and every time you look back, the view of civilization grows smaller, more distant. You're not exactly sure what you expected when you set out, but this is nothing like the dream. The terrain begins to show its true colors. The land that once seemed so vast and inviting now feels hostile, like a living creature intent on slowing you down. Hills and mountains loom in the distance, promising yet another obstacle you'll have to conquer. You thought you'd be able to sail across open plains, but you quickly realize that those flat stretches are deceptively hard. Rocks and roots tear at your wagon wheels, and your animals strain under the load, their tired hooves dragging with every step. Historians still argue whether the wagons were too heavy for the rough terrain, or if the settlers were simply too inexperienced to navigate the land efficiently. Some claim the wagons were ill-suited for such a long journey, while others suggest the settlers just didn't prepare for the level of difficulty the trail would throw at them. Either way, the constant push forward is making you question every decision that led you here. And then there's the exhaustion. It's not just physical anymore, it's mental. You start losing track of time, and the weight of the journey hangs heavy on your mind. A sense of dread starts to settle in, as if the land itself is conspiring against you. You can hear the wind howling through the trees like some ancient warning. The heat in the day is stifling, but the nights aren't much better. When the sun sets, the cold creeps in like a thief. Your blankets do little to stave off the chill, and you lie awake staring at the stars, wondering if you're just a dot in a giant, indifferent universe. You remember the other travelers, those families you met at the last stop, full of hope and excitement, now nothing more than faces in the dust. They're all fading away as the trail drags on, and you wonder how much longer you can hold on. That's when the first real trouble hits. You haven't thought about it much up until now, but the wild animals of the Oregon Trail are starting to make themselves known. The plains are filled with predators, bears, wolves, and even snakes. And if that wasn't enough, some of these creatures are downright aggressive. You catch a glimpse of a wolf pack in the distance, their eyes gleaming with hunger. The sight is enough to make your skin crawl. But it's not just the wolves. No, the real danger might be something far smaller, something more insidious. You start noticing the buzzing of flies around your wagon, especially near the water supply. It's one of those things that you don't think too much about at first. But as the days go on, the insects become a constant nuisance, and it becomes clear they're not just annoying, they're carrying disease. Malaria, dysentery, even the flies are in on the conspiracy. Historians still argue whether the diseases spread by insects were the deadliest killers along the Oregon Trail. But one thing's clear, your body is slowly becoming a breeding ground for sickness. And what's worse, there's no cure. Not for any of it. The remedies are sparse and often based on guesswork. But the reality is, you're slowly succumbing to the same fate that has claimed so many before you. The land is winning, and you're not even halfway there yet. And then comes the realization: water. You've been relying on the rivers and streams, but those don't always pan out. You can't be sure that the next stream you cross will have clean, drinkable water. In fact, you might be too late to find it at all. It's a haunting thought. You could be walking for miles and find nothing but dry, cracked earth. Thirst becomes a constant companion, your tongue sticky and dry, your lips cracking with every word. You try to stay optimistic, but the creeping dread is hard to shake. You begin rationing your water, trying to make it stretch. You tell yourself that it won't be long before the next stop, maybe a fort, maybe a town, will have plenty of supplies. But that hope, like all the others, fades away as the days stretch on. By now, you've come to understand something vital. This trail isn't just a physical journey. It's a mental one. It's not just the wagons that break down, but the minds of the travelers. The longer you stay out here, the more it feels like you're being chipped away at, piece by piece. That fresh optimism you had at the start, it's been replaced by a kind of grim resignation. Every step forward feels like a fight for survival, and every day that passes, you wonder if you'll be the one to make it. But you can't stop now. The horizon still calls, and you still believe that somehow, out there, a new life awaits. You just don't know if you'll live long enough to see it. Word count and continue. Section 4. As the days stretch on, you begin to realize that the weather is not just a minor inconvenience. It's a constant, overwhelming threat. The sun is relentless, beating down on you during the day until it feels like your skin is cooking under its rays. You sweat through your clothes, the sticky humidity sticking to your back as you struggle to keep your eyes on the horizon, focusing on the faint idea of cooler temperatures and shelter that might be ahead. You keep pushing through, but the heat saps your strength. Even your animals are feeling it now. The oxen sluggish, the horses panting heavily, their breath labored. The path seems to get longer with each mile, and you're not sure how much more you can take. But the heat isn't the only challenge Mother Nature has in store for you. The nights bring a chilling reprieve, but the temperatures plummet so dramatically that you're forced to bundle up like it's the dead of winter. You lie awake, shivering, as the cold bites through your blankets. The once comforting sound of the wind rustling through the trees is now a constant reminder that no matter how hard you try to plan for the weather, it always seems to throw something unexpected your way. And when it rains, that's when the Oregon Trail truly shows its teeth. You didn't think it could get worse than the heat, but the downpours come without warning, turning the already rugged terrain into a muddy mess. The trail becomes slick with mud, every wagon wheel slipping and sliding in the muck, while your horse's hooves sink deep into the earth. The once clear path becomes a quagmire, and you find yourself struggling to move forward, slipping in the mud as you try to push the wagon through. Your shoes are caked in thick, sticky sludge, and you can feel the grime seeping into every inch of your body. At first, it's a slow process. You manage to trudge through the muck, hoping the rain will stop soon. But as the days drag on, the storms grow more intense. You see the clouds gathering in the distance, black and heavy with rain, and you brace yourself for the downpour to come. The floods are quick to follow. Rivers rise, their once calm currents surging over the banks, swallowing everything in their path. In some cases, entire wagon trains are swept away, the precious supplies you've carried so far, gone in the blink of an eye. It's a terrifying reality that hits you with full force. There is no escaping the fury of the weather. The land might have seemed harsh and unforgiving before, but now it's something far worse. Unpredictable, cruel, and unforgiving. Historians still argue over the role weather played in the Oregon Trail's death toll. Was it the relentless heat that broke people down, or was it the torrential rain and flash floods that left so many stranded, helpless in the face of nature's fury? One thing's for certain, no one was prepared for this. As you continue to trudge through the mud, you realize that surviving the weather isn't just about endurance. It's about your ability to adapt. You have to get used to the constant discomfort, the unpredictable conditions, and the fact that you can't control anything out here. You thought you were in control when you packed your bags, when you made that decision to leave it all behind. But now, you're a tiny speck on a vast, unforgiving landscape, at the mercy of forces far beyond your control. The endless storm clouds start to wear on your psyche, too. It's hard to focus on anything when the weather is so oppressive. You feel your energy sapping, your willpower faltering. The constant push forward begins to feel more like a desperate struggle, with every step heavier than the last. The weather feels like it's conspiring to break you, and as the rain pours down, flooding the trail and turning your supplies into soggy, useless heaps, you wonder if it's worth it. You've crossed rivers, climbed hills, fought off the worst of the wildlife, and yet you still can't escape the elements. But you have no choice. The trail is your only option. As frustrating as it is, you have to keep going. What else is there to do? And so you trudge on, day after day through heat, mud, and storm, hoping that somewhere on the horizon, the promise of a new life is still waiting for you. You may not be able to control the weather, but maybe, just maybe, you can outlast it. Awaiting continue. Section 5. As the weeks drag on, you begin to wonder if the Oregon Trail is testing your spirit more than your body. Each new challenge feels like a cruel joke, as if the land itself is conspiring to keep you from reaching your destination. But it's not just the weather and the rough terrain that you have to worry about. Now, it's the animals that make their presence known, lurking in the shadows and waiting for the right moment to strike. Wildlife, from the mighty to the small, becomes a constant threat on the trail. And in this environment, even the animals seem to be trying to survive at your expense. You'd think that the dangers of the Oregon Trail would be limited to human conflict or the exhausting physical journey, but nature has other plans. You encounter wolves early on, their howls echoing across the plains as they stalk your wagons at night. At first they seem far off, distant, but you quickly learn that those howls are never just empty sounds. These creatures are smart, organized, and driven by a need for food. A wolf pack can circle your camp under the cover of darkness, moving in tight formation, looking for a chance to snatch a vulnerable animal or even one of your weaker members. If the pack decides to move in, the sheer number of wolves can make a stand nearly impossible. And it's not just the wolves. Bears, too, are a constant threat on the Oregon Trail. Large and lumbering, they aren't afraid to approach your camp when hunger strikes. You've heard rumors about a few of the pioneers who tried to fight them off, but they never made it. Bears are unpredictable. Sometimes they'll wander off, but other times they'll charge with a ferocity that leaves you scrambling for cover. You never truly feel safe, no matter how hard you try to protect yourself. Even if you manage to keep the animals away, their presence is a reminder that the wilderness is never truly tamed. But there's an even smaller, more insidious danger creeping into your daily life. Insects. They seem harmless at first, just a few gnats and mosquitoes buzzing around your head as you walk. But soon, the sheer number of them becomes overwhelming. The flies are particularly bad, swarming around the wagon and your water supply, attracted to the warm bodies and the moisture. You can't seem to escape them, and soon you notice something more troubling. The flies are spreading disease. Insects carry deadly illnesses like malaria and dysentery, and you begin to worry that it's only a matter of time before you're struck down by one of these invisible killers. Historians still argue about which animal caused the most trouble for travelers on the Oregon Trail: the wolves, the bears, or the disease-carrying insects. Some even claim that the smallpox outbreaks that hit in certain years were far deadlier than any wild animal. But whatever the cause, the fact remains: the Oregon Trail was as dangerous for its wild inhabitants as it was for you. You start to realize that the longer you stay out here, the more it feels like you're in a never-ending game of survival, where the odds are stacked against you at every turn. You try to be cautious, making sure your supplies are stored away safely, and that you keep your animals in sight at all times. But the truth is, the land doesn't care about your plans. The animals don't care about your schedule. Nature, in all its raw, untamed glory, moves forward with a relentless power that doesn't stop to consider your survival. And what's worse, these animals aren't even the worst of it. You've heard stories about what lies ahead: hostile encounters with other settlers, people who aren't afraid to use violence to get what they need. You can't even trust the fellow travelers you've been relying on. While some are kind, others might take advantage of your weakened state. It's not just the wolves and bears you have to worry about, it's the people who would just as soon leave you to die as help you. The isolation becomes unbearable. You spend your days navigating the wilderness, trying to outsmart the wolves and other animals, and then your nights are filled with the constant fear that someone might come for your supplies, or worse. The dangers of the trail are no longer just from the environment, they come from every direction. But still, you push forward, because that's all you can do. You can't turn back now. The trail is unforgiving, yes, but the dream of what's waiting at the end keeps you moving, even as the dangers pile up, even as it feels like the whole world is against you. Word count: one waiting, continue. Section 6. The days on the trail blur together now, the monotony of survival hanging over you like a storm cloud. But now there's a new kind of fear creeping in, one that strikes even deeper than the wildlife or the weather. It's the gnawing realization that your food supply is beginning to dwindle. The reserves that you packed in anticipation of the long journey, the cans of dried meat, the bags of flour and rice, are slowly being consumed at a pace that you can't keep up with. What you thought would last you months now barely holds you for weeks. You've been rationing carefully, making every ounce count, but the truth is, you're running out. The constant effort to find food takes its toll. You can't hunt effectively with the limited supplies you have. And fishing? Forget it. The streams you've passed have been too shallow, too muddy, or just plain empty. And those animals, whether wild or domesticated, are becoming harder to find as the days pass. Game is disappearing, hiding, or simply moving further away. Even hunting for small game has become a challenge. You have a rifle, sure, but shooting a rabbit or squirrel requires patience, and that's something in short supply right now. It's an eerie feeling, the knowledge that you might soon go hungry. The kind of hunger that makes your stomach ache constantly, even when you're not eating. You try to ignore it, but every time you think of your dwindling rations, that gnawing hunger only grows stronger. You watch the children, their eyes beginning to look hollow, their faces thinner. You see it in their desperate, searching glances, the way they eye every scrap of food, every morsel of bread or meat. They know, just as you do, that the food is running out. Historians still argue over how starvation was one of the top causes of death along the Oregon Trail. Was it due to poor planning or the overestimation of the supplies needed to make it to the end? Some claim that settlers were simply not prepared to live off the land for such an extended period. Others believe that the shift in climate and the dwindling game contributed to the shortage. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. Hunger became an omnipresent enemy. In desperation, you start foraging. You try to hunt for wild plants, berries, anything that could give you some semblance of nutrition. But you're not a seasoned forager. There are berries you can eat, and others that could kill you with a single bite. You hear whispers about poisonous plants that grow along the trail, and suddenly, every leaf looks suspicious. Every unfamiliar berry is a potential death sentence. You pick some wild onions, a few dandelions, but you know they aren't enough. The other settlers seem to be in the same predicament. Some turn to hunting smaller game, some to fishing, but the trail is hard on everyone. Everyone is just as desperate as you. As days stretch into weeks, the food shortage turns into a full-blown crisis, and that's when the sickness starts. It creeps in quietly, insidiously, and before you know it, someone close to you falls ill. A cough that turns into fever, a headache that doesn't go away, a stomach that twists in pain. The medical supplies you've been rationing are gone, and now all you have left are useless remedies. There's nothing that can ease the symptoms. No one has the cure. The doctor back home never told you how to handle this, and all the books you brought along seem completely useless now. The disease begins to spread, affecting one person, then another. You're trying to keep it contained, but in a group this small, isolation is impossible. Everyone starts to look sickly, their faces pale, their energy drained. You're starting to realize that the Oregon Trail's dangers aren't just the wolves or the weather, It's the disease that waits for you, ever present, just around the corner. Historians are still divided on what diseases were most rampant along the trail. Some point to malaria, others to dysentery, or even smallpox. But whatever the disease, one fact stands clear: it spreads quickly and without mercy. You realize too late that you've neglected your health. What was once just a mild fever now feels like a death sentence. Your body aches, your energy is gone, and you struggle to keep going. But you don't have a choice. You can't stop. You can't give in. If you do, it's over. And yet somehow you push on. Even as the food runs out and the sickness spreads, you keep putting one foot in front of the other. You have no choice. Every step you take, every day you survive, is a small victory. But with each passing day, you start to wonder, how many more days can you last? How many more days until the trail claims you, just like it's claimed so many others? Awaiting continue. Section 7. The sickness spreads faster than you can manage. One by one, the people in your wagon train begin to fall ill. At first, it's just a couple of coughs, a slight fever, but soon it's much worse. Children cry out in the night with feverish dreams, and adults lie pale and sweaty, their bodies racked with chills. You've run out of medicine, and what little water you've managed to scavenge from streams isn't nearly enough to keep everyone hydrated. The conditions are only getting worse. Sleep is a rare luxury now, and when you do manage to rest, you're haunted by the cries of the sick and the groaning of the wagon wheels as they trudge on relentlessly. You try to keep your spirits up. You try to be the strong one in the group, offering words of encouragement, pushing everyone to keep moving. But the strain is starting to show. Even the simplest tasks have become monumental. The trek forward seems impossible now, each mile stretching longer and longer, until you wonder if you'll ever reach your destination. Every time you think you've found a source of fresh water, it's tainted, muddied by the same disease that's creeping through your camp. Every step you take feels like you're walking through a fog, and the weight of the illness in your party drags you down. The disease spreads so quickly that you can't even keep up with the dead. Just as you start to bury one person, another succumbs to the illness. The burial process becomes a grim, mechanical task, done without ceremony or words, just an obligation. You wonder how many more graves you'll dig before the journey ends, if it ever will. Historians still argue whether the outbreaks of illness on the Oregon Trail were inevitable, or if they could have been prevented. Some say the lack of proper sanitation in the camps caused diseases like dysentery to spread faster than wildfire. Others point to the lack of access to medical care, or even the lack of proper nutrition as a significant factor. One thing's certain: the journey was a perfect storm for disease. And as much as you try to remain hopeful, it's becoming clear that survival might not be in the cards for you. As you pass one camp after another, you start to see the same scene everywhere: abandoned wagons, lifeless bodies lying in the dirt, and empty eyes staring into the distance. No one is immune to the ravages of the trail, and no matter how hard you fight, there's no escaping the toll it takes on the human body. The death toll rises with every passing day, and the only thing you can do is keep moving, driven by a sliver of hope that your perseverance will eventually pay off. But as you walk, you begin to understand something profound. The Oregon Trail doesn't just strip away your comfort, it strips away everything you thought you knew about life and death. The people you encounter along the way, strangers one day, companions the next, become part of the landscape of the journey. They are living and breathing, just like you, but they're also vulnerable to the same forces that threaten to take you down. It's a humbling realization. You're all just trying to survive, one foot in front of the other, hoping that somehow, against all odds, you'll make it. But the toll it takes on you is impossible to ignore. The exhaustion, the hunger, the sickness. Your body is slowly giving up. You feel yourself weakening with each passing day, the world around you fading into a blur of fatigue. It's hard to hold on to the dream of a new life when all you can think about is putting one foot in front of the other. You know you can't stop, but you're not sure how much further you can go. Every step forward feels like it's draining the last bit of energy you have left. And yet, you keep going. Because that's what you have to do. You have to keep moving. The land you're traveling through seems endless, but the horizon doesn't promise relief. In fact, it might only be the next chapter of misery, the next hurdle to overcome. You try to keep hope alive, but it's becoming harder to believe that there's anything better waiting for you at the end of this long, treacherous journey. But still, you walk. Awaiting continue. Section 8. The sickness continues to spread, a slow-moving wave that relentlessly consumes everyone in its path. You feel the heaviness of it on your chest, in your mind, in the quiet moments between the labor of the trail. But there's no time to truly acknowledge the weight of it. No time to pause and reflect on the toll the journey is taking on you. All you can do is keep moving forward, hoping that something, anything, will change. But it doesn't. Each day feels like a repetition of the last. The same struggle, the same despair, the same tiny sliver of hope that flickers and then dies with the setting sun. The food is now nearly gone. Your stomach growls incessantly, the hunger gnawing at you like a constant companion. You ration what little you have left, trying to make it stretch just one more day, one more week. The children are the worst. You see their eyes growing hollow, their little bodies weakening under the strain of it all. You try to comfort them, but you know you're powerless. There's nothing to give them, nothing to ease the hunger pangs, nothing to protect them from the harshness of the trail. And as much as you try to shield them from the reality of the situation, they see it too. They know what's happening. They know the danger they're in. You're not alone in this struggle, though. There are others around you, fellow travelers you've met along the way. Some have already given up, content to sit by their wagons, resigned to their fate. But others are pushing on, just like you, driven by the same fragile hope that keeps them going. It's a strange thing, this shared experience. You're all suffering in the same way, yet the bond between you and the others feels fragile, tenuous. Trust is becoming a rare commodity as people start to turn on each other in desperation. You've heard whispers of people stealing from one another, hoarding food or supplies. Everyone is looking out for themselves now, because in this place, survival is a solitary pursuit. And that's when the true weight of the situation hits you. It's not just about the land or the wildlife. It's not even about the illness. It's about the fear that's creeping into everyone's hearts, the realization that no one is truly safe here. Historians still debate whether the breakdown of social order along the trail was a result of the extreme conditions or simply human nature under pressure. Was it the hardships that made people desperate, or was it the isolation, the lack of accountability that pushed people to turn on each other? Some say the trail stripped away the facade of civilization, revealing the brutal survival instincts of humans in their rawest form. Either way, what's clear is that the social fabric that might have held the travelers together is beginning to unravel. Despite the mounting tension, you continue to trudge on, day after day, hoping that you'll soon reach a place where food is plentiful, where rest is possible, where the nightmare of this journey will finally end. But it's hard to hold on to that hope when every day brings new challenges. The land, the weather, the sickness, the animals, the people, it all feels too much to bear. And yet, you can't stop now. You're too far along the path to turn back. But how much longer can you keep going? As you march forward, you find yourself reflecting on what the Oregon Trail really is. It's not just a passage from one place to another. It's a crucible. It's a test of endurance, of willpower, and of survival. But even more than that, it's a test of humanity. The longer you spend on the trail, the more you realize how fragile civilization is, how thin the veneer of order and decency truly is. Here, in this unforgiving wilderness, people are pushed to their limits, and in doing so, they reveal themselves for what they really are. As you look ahead, the endless stretch of the trail seems to taunt you, a never-ending horizon that offers no reprieve. The endless expanse of land feels like a prison. You begin to wonder if the destination is just another illusion, another lie to keep you moving forward, never really questioning where the end of the trail lies. But somehow you keep moving, one step in front of the other, because that's all you can do. The land doesn't care about your hope. It doesn't care about your dreams or your fears. It simply is. And you too simply are. You are a traveler, a survivor, moving through a world that does not want you. through a land that does not care, in search of something that may or may not exist. But still, you walk. Awaiting continue. Section 9. The days blur into one another now, each as indistinguishable from the last as the next. The fatigue is overwhelming, and every step feels heavier, as if the weight of the trail itself is pushing you down. But you can't stop. You can't pause. You can't rest. There is no time for that, because somewhere out there on the horizon is the promise of a new life, if you can only make it. That's the cruelest part of the journey, the knowledge that the end, the hope that awaits, is just out of reach. And no matter how exhausted you are, no matter how broken you feel, you have to keep going, because that's the only choice. But you begin to wonder, is it worth it? The trail has taken so much from you already. The people you've lost, the friends who've passed, the families that once traveled alongside you but now lie buried along the way. Every mile that passes feels like a pound of weight added to your shoulders. And yet, the horizon still taunts you, a faint line in the distance that promises something more. Is it freedom? A new life? Or is it just another empty stretch of land, an illusion to keep you moving forward? The days are hotter now, and the landscape has changed. The once endless plains are slowly giving way to rougher, more uneven terrain. The land that once seemed barren now feels hostile, an endless stretch of jagged rocks and sharp cliffs that seem to mock your journey. The path, if it could even be called that, is narrow and treacherous. Your wagon, already tired from days of struggle, threatens to buckle under the weight of its own burden. You begin to think about those who've made it this far and wonder what it would feel like to see the end of this trail, to feel solid ground beneath your feet, to taste clean, fresh water without worrying about contamination. The thought is so comforting that it almost feels like a fantasy. How many others have dreamed of that moment? How many others, just like you, set out with a heart full of hope, only to be worn down by the reality of the journey? Historians still debate the psychological toll of the Oregon Trail. Was it the isolation that did it? The constant pressure of survival? Or was it the relentless, never-ending nature of the trail itself that slowly eroded the mental resilience of the travelers? Perhaps it was all of these things. The evidence is clear. The Oregon Trail didn't just kill people physically. It wore them down emotionally, mentally, until even the strongest of wills cracked under the pressure. And yet, despite everything, you keep moving. You keep pushing forward, because what else is there to do? You can't give up now. The end is close, isn't it? Maybe just one more hill, one more river, and then the new world, the promised land, will be within your reach. But the land doesn't care about promises. The land only offers what it will, when it will, and often that's nothing. The moment you start to hope, you realize it was never about what was waiting for you. It was always about surviving the journey itself. There is no grand ending. The new life you dreamed of might not exist, or if it does, it will be hard-won, built on sacrifice and suffering. The reality of your journey, of every journey along this trail, is one of endurance. The end, when it comes, will not be a celebration. It will simply be a quiet relief. And as the days pass and the trail continues to stretch before you, you begin to realize something even more unsettling. The dream of a better life is no longer enough to keep you going. You're no longer chasing freedom or riches or farmland. You're just trying to survive. The hope that once spurred you forward, that vision of a new beginning, has begun to fade, replaced with a singular, desperate need to keep moving, to keep breathing, to make it to the end of this trail, even if it means leaving behind everything you ever dreamed of. You wonder how much longer it will take. You wonder if it's even possible to keep going at all. And yet, you push on. Awaiting continue. Section 10. The trail has become a living nightmare. The road ahead is long, winding, and unforgiving. The animals that once seemed like a mere nuisance have now become a deadly force, threatening your livelihood and your very survival. The hunger is relentless, gnawing at your insides like a constant companion. The disease that once seemed distant is now at your doorstep, creeping through the camp, taking lives with the silent efficiency of a predator stalking its prey. And worst of all, there is no relief, no respite. You can feel it in your bones now, the exhaustion, the despair, the realization that you might not make it. The path ahead stretches on without end, the hills growing higher, the ground growing rockier. The wagon, once a symbol of hope and survival, is now a burden. The creaking wheels and rattling axles are a constant reminder of just how far you still have to go. The animals, once full of energy and spirit, are now worn down, dragging their feet, barely able to lift their heads. Your companions are no better. They're weaker, sicker, and more desperate with each passing day. Some of the families you've been traveling with are no longer there. They've disappeared into the dust, their wagons abandoned, their bodies buried beneath the harsh terrain. You can't help but wonder if you're next. Every time you see someone collapse, every time someone succumbs to illness or exhaustion, it reminds you just how fragile your existence is on this journey. You've been fighting so hard, so desperately, but you start to wonder if you'll be able to keep going. The end of the trail still seems so far away, and every step you take only seems to bring you closer to the edge of collapse. You don't know how long it's been since you last felt full, since you last felt healthy, since you last felt strong enough to take on the world. The disease, the hunger, the exhaustion, they're all taking their toll. Every night feels longer than the last, filled with restless sleep and dreams of a life you'll never have. You try to hold on to hope, but it's becoming harder. What was once a dream of a new life in Oregon is now just a distant memory, a far-off fantasy that seems more and more unattainable. But there is still a spark, still a flicker of hope deep down inside you. The thought of giving up isn't an option. You can't go back. There's no turning around. The world behind you is a place you've already left behind, a place that no longer exists for you. The only thing you can do is keep moving forward, keep pushing through the pain, the fatigue, the sickness, and the uncertainty. You cling to that single thought, you must survive. The journey may have already claimed so many, but you're still here, and that means you have to keep going. The land doesn't care about your hopes or dreams. It doesn't care if you're tired, if you're hungry, or if you're sick. It just is. It's indifferent to your suffering, to your pain, to your humanity. And yet somehow you keep walking. You keep pushing, because that's all you can do. You can't stop. Not now. Not when the end is still just over the horizon. Maybe, just maybe, there is still something worth fighting for. Awaiting, continue. Section 11. The endless stretch of trail looms ahead. But now, with every passing day, the hope of reaching Oregon seems more like a distant mirage. Your body feels heavier, weighed down by exhaustion, by hunger, and by the relentless grip of disease. The trail that once seemed like an exciting adventure has transformed into a test of pure endurance, a test of how much you can bear before you break. And yet, despite it all, you keep moving forward. The illness that's taken root in your camp shows no mercy. You wake up each morning, groggy and disoriented, only to find another friend or family member has fallen ill overnight. It's like a slow wave of misery washing over you. Each new person who falls sick feels like a gut punch, another person lost to the unforgiving landscape of the Oregon Trail. The realization sinks in. You're all being whittled down, piece by piece. And though the others try to remain hopeful, it's becoming harder to ignore the truth. Some of you won't make it. Not everyone can survive. You've heard the stories of those who didn't make it, those who died in the night from fever or dysentery, their bodies left behind on the trail. The graves are scattered across the land, reminders of the brutality of this journey. The trail isn't a smooth path forward. It's a graveyard of lost hopes, of dreams dashed upon the rocks of reality. The reality that the land is too harsh, the journey too long, and the dangers too many. Even those who seem strong, those who had the most determination, were ultimately no match for the relentless forces of nature. At times you wonder if the journey was ever truly worth it. Was it worth leaving behind everything you knew? Was it worth sacrificing everything just for a chance at something better? The Oregon Trail was supposed to be the road to freedom, to prosperity, to a new life. And yet, the deeper you go, the more it feels like a cruel joke. The land does not care about your dreams. The land does not care about your ambition. The land only cares about survival. You watch as the others around you lose hope. They start to crack under the strain. They too feel the weight of the journey bearing down on them. You see it in their eyes, the The same fear, the same desperation, the same weariness that's slowly consuming you. The people you once saw as strong, resilient, are now shadows of their former selves. And you start to realize that it's not just the land that's taking a toll on you. It's the isolation, the constant fear, the uncertainty of not knowing what comes next. It's the knowledge that you could be next, that no one is safe out here. Historians still argue about the psychological effects of the Oregon Trail. Some claim that the isolation, the constant hardships, and the daily threat of death pushed people to their limits. Others believe that the mental toll was just as dangerous as the physical dangers of the trail. One thing's clear. The Oregon Trail didn't just break bodies, it broke spirits. But still, you move forward. There is no choice but to keep going, to push through the fatigue, the hunger, the disease. Because in the end, survival is all you have left. You don't know if Oregon is still waiting for you. You don't know if you'll ever reach it. But the one thing you do know is that as long as you're breathing, you can't stop. And so you push on, step after weary step, until you're not sure where you end and the trail begins. The line between you and the journey has blurred. You are the trail now, and the trail is you. Awaiting continue. Section 12. By now, the trail has worked its way into your bones. It isn't just a journey anymore. It's become a part of you, a quiet, constant presence that echoes in every step you take. Every crack in the ground, every gust of wind, every howl of a wolf or rustling of the trees seems to remind you that you are not merely passing through this wilderness. You are part of it now. You are as much a part of the earth beneath your feet as the endless plains that stretch out before you. The trail has claimed you, body and soul. But you're not sure if it's a victory or a defeat. You've come so far, yet the end remains as elusive as ever. Some days, it feels as if you're walking in circles, as if you'll never escape the vast expanse of land that refuses to release you. You've crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and fought off both wild animals and sickness, but you're not sure how much further you can go. Each day, you make a small, insignificant amount of progress, but it feels like the trail is determined to swallow you whole. Your body aches more than it ever has. The pain is constant now, a dull throb that never quite goes away. The soles of your feet are raw from days of walking, your hands cracked and blistered from handling the reins of the wagon and the weight of the supplies. Every step takes more effort than the last, and you're starting to feel like you're walking through a fog, the world around you blurring with exhaustion. Yet still, you push forward. You have no choice. The only way to stop is to collapse, and that would mean your end. The others around you aren't faring much better. You've seen them fall, one by one. People who once seemed strong, full of life and hope, now reduced to shadows of themselves. Some succumb to the sickness that spreads through the camp like wildfire. Others simply can't keep up. The struggle for survival has taken its toll on everyone. You hear their whispers at night, quiet conversations about turning back, about giving up, but no one dares to speak it aloud. The dream of a new life in Oregon is all that keeps them moving, even if it feels more and more like a dream that will never come true. You catch glimpses of their faces as they pass you, hollow eyes, slackened jaws, skin stretched tight over bones. They are all slowly dying, not just physically, but emotionally. No one is the person they were when they first set out on this journey. The Oregon Trail has changed them. It's changed you too. You can feel it. You can see it in the way your hands tremble when you reach for your water canteen, the way your breath catches in your throat when you look back and realize how far you've come. It's as though the land itself has claimed a part of you, something you can never get back. Historians still debate whether the mental and emotional toll of the Oregon Trail was worse than the physical dangers. Some argue that the constant threat of death and disease was the most brutal part of the journey, while others claim that the overwhelming sense of isolation and hopelessness slowly wore people down, breaking their spirits before their bodies ever gave out. It's hard to say which was worse, but either way, the Oregon Trail had a way of stripping you down to your very core, but still you walk. You remind yourself over and over that you can't stop. The end may be far, but you can't turn back. The land has taken so much from you already. What's a few more steps? What's a little more suffering? You've already come this far. There's nothing left to lose. As you trudge onward, the days start to blend into one long, indistinct blur. The fatigue is numbing. The hunger is a constant gnawing at your gut, and the sickness that's made its way through the camp is always a step behind you. But in the quiet moments, when the wind rustles through the trees and you pause to drink from a stream, you catch a flicker of something. It's fleeting. Just a spark of something you once had, hope. It's not much, but it's enough to keep you going. You tell yourself that you'll make it, that you'll get there. But with each passing day, it becomes harder to believe. The end is still out there, somewhere on the horizon, but you've lost track of how far you've come. You're just a traveler now, walking through a world that doesn't care if you live or die. You wonder, for the first time, if there really is anything waiting for you when you reach Oregon, or if the journey itself is the only thing you'll ever have. But still, you keep moving. The path ahead begins to feel like an eternal stretch of nothingness. The world around you, once full of promise and hope, is now an endless loop of desperation and struggle. The Oregon Trail has taken everything from you: the comfort of familiarity, the joy of companionship, the promise of a better life, and it seems to offer nothing in return. Yet, you can't stop. Even now, with the weight of fatigue and hopelessness pressing down on you, you continue forward, each step a testament to your will to survive. You're not the same person who set out from home all those months ago. That person was full of dreams, eager to start anew, to live a life of promise and opportunity. But now, with every mile that passes, those dreams seem more and more like a distant memory, a cruel fantasy that no longer holds weight. The trail has broken you down, piece by piece, until you are nothing but the very essence of survival. A raw instinct to keep moving despite the overwhelming odds. Your body is barely holding up. Your hands are blistered and calloused. Your feet are swollen and sore, and the ever-present hunger gnaws at your insides. You try to push it all down, to ignore the sharp pangs in your stomach, but the hunger is relentless. The illness that has ravaged your camp, the fever and chills, the dysentery and coughs, has claimed so many, and it seems to be waiting for you, just around the corner, ready to strike when you least expect it. The land feels endless now, a vast stretch of dry, cracked earth that seems to mock you. The once verdant plains, the rivers that promised life, have all faded into a barren wasteland. Your wagon, once a symbol of hope and possibility, is now a weight you drag behind you, its wheels slowly giving way under the strain of the terrain. The animals, once full of energy and purpose, are now hollow, their eyes sunken and weary. Every day you push forward, but with each passing mile, you wonder if this is all there is. Has the Oregon Trail simply become an endless cycle of suffering, a cruel path to nowhere? And yet you keep walking. There's something in you that refuses to stop, some spark of defiance that refuses to accept that all of this has been for nothing. Maybe it's the memory of the people you left behind, the family and friends who trusted you to bring them to a new life. Maybe it's the faint hope that something, anything, will await you at the end of this hellish journey. Or maybe it's just that you have no other choice. Turning back is not an option. The trail is your life now, and the only way to survive is to keep moving forward, even when you can't see the end. But there's another part of you that wonders if you'll ever reach it. The end. The promised land. Oregon was supposed to be a paradise, a land of opportunity, a new beginning. But now it feels more like a cruel illusion, a dream that's slowly slipping through your fingers. The people who've made it this far, the ones who are still alive, are mere shadows of the people they once were. The long march through the wilderness has stripped them of their strength, their hope, their will to live. You see it in their eyes, the same hollow look that's overtaken you. They, too, are walking through this endless desert, not toward a new life, but toward something else entirely. Maybe toward survival, or maybe toward death. It's hard to tell the difference now. Historians still debate whether the allure of the promised land was enough to keep people going, or whether it was simply the pressure to survive that pushed them forward. Some believe that the dream of Oregon, of a new life, was what kept the pioneers moving, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Others argue that it was the sheer will to survive, the primal instinct that drives people to keep going no matter the cost. Whatever the reason, the fact remains. The trail tested every person who walked it, breaking some and transforming others. You wonder if you're being broken too. If the Oregon Trail is slowly chipping away at you, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but the remnants of a person who once had dreams and hopes. Maybe it's not the destination that matters after all. Maybe it's just the journey, the slow, painful process of surviving, of holding on to whatever tiny fragment of hope remains. And so you walk. Every step is a battle, every breath a struggle. The Oregon Trail has taken so much from you already, and yet you keep going. Because no matter how hard it gets, no matter how far the end seems, there's still something inside you that refuses to give up. Maybe you'll make it, maybe you won't. But the one thing you know for sure is that, for now, the only thing that matters is moving forward. Awaiting, continue. Section 14. The journey is no longer about the dream of a new life. It has become something else entirely, something more primal. It's about surviving the next minute, the next step. The dream of Oregon, of fertile land and prosperity, has faded away. What once seemed like an unreachable paradise now seems like a cruel joke, a mirage in the distance that always seems to remain just out of reach. What was once hope has turned into exhaustion, and the thought of Oregon is nothing more than a distant whisper, a memory of something you used to believe in. Your body is broken. You feel it with every step, every motion. Your joints creak with pain. Your muscles sore from the constant strain of the journey. The heat beats down during the day, while the cold bites at you during the night. You've been through countless days of misery, long, grueling marches through dry, barren land. And yet, despite it all, you keep going. There's no other choice. Every day, the thought of stopping crosses your mind, but you quickly push it away. You can't stop. To stop is to die. You keep walking, moving forward, even when the pain feels like it will swallow you whole. The others are no better. You see them too, weakened and hollowed out by the trail. They've lost their energy, their resolve. They too are just trying to make it to the end, even though no one knows where that end really is. Some have succumbed to the sickness that has swept through your camp, while others have simply given up. They've slowed down, dragging behind the group, unable to keep up with the relentless pace. You wonder, briefly, if you'll be next. But then the thought is pushed aside. You can't stop. You can't afford to slow down. So you keep walking, because that's all there is to do. The wagon, which once held your hope and your supplies, now feels like a burden. It creaks and groans under the weight of the journey, its wheels slowing down with every mile. The oxen, too, are struggling, their heads hanging low, their hooves dragging in the dirt. You try to urge them on, but they're just as tired as you are. And yet, despite the weariness in your bones and the exhaustion in your mind, you keep moving forward. You can't let the wagon fall behind. It's the only thing you have left. The land seems to be closing in around you. The wide, thus open plains have given way to narrower paths, steeper hills, and rocky terrain. The further you go, the more difficult the trail becomes. The hope of a smooth path, of easy passage, has long since disappeared. The trail is now a jagged, unforgiving mess, and the only thing that keeps you going is the belief, no, the desperate hope that the end is near, that there's something waiting for you when you finally reach the last stretch of land. The worst part is the uncertainty. No one knows where Oregon really is anymore. The map is a blur of lines, and the landmarks that were once markers of progress now seem like arbitrary points on a grid. There's no clear sense of where the trail ends or if it ever will. You're just following the others, blindly pushing ahead, hoping that somewhere, beyond the horizon, there is something worth reaching. You hear stories from other travelers. Some say they've heard of forts up ahead, places where you can rest, find food, or even medical help. But who knows if they're real? Who knows if those places still exist, or if they too have been swallowed up by the same wilderness that's consumed so many others? All you can do is keep moving, following the vague directions and fleeting hope of finding something, anything, that will give you the strength to keep going. The wind has picked up, carrying dust from the trail and making the air feel heavy. It stings your face and fills your mouth with dirt. You try to shield yourself from it, but there's no escaping the constant barrage of elements. It's as though the land itself is trying to break you down, to strip away every last ounce of energy, every last shred of hope, until all that's left is the fight for survival. And yet, even as the odds against you grow larger, even as the trail seems to stretch on endlessly, you continue to move forward. The trail has become part of you now. It is your existence. The end may not be a place, it may not be a destination at all. It may simply be the next step, the next moment. You are not walking toward Oregon. You are walking for survival. Historians still argue about the nature of the Oregon Trail. Was it a route to a new life, or a death march of dreams lost? Some believe that the dream of Oregon kept the settlers going, that the hope for something better was enough to carry them through the hardships. Others argue that it was simply the instinct to survive, the refusal to turn back in the face of adversity, that kept people moving forward. Either way, the trail became a place of transformation. People didn't just travel along the Oregon Trail, they were changed by it. And in that change, the dream of Oregon was both the beginning and the end. But you don't have time to think about that. The only thing that matters now is that you keep moving, and so you do. Awaiting continue. Section 15. The weight of the journey is unbearable now. Every step you take feels like a battle, each breath like a strain on your body. The sun beats down relentlessly during the day, baking the earth beneath your feet, while the nights bring an unyielding chill that seeps into your bones. The land you once hoped to conquer has transformed into something that feels almost alive, a living, breathing entity that pushes back against your every move. Every day you walk further into its depths, hoping that the end is near, but the trail only stretches on and on, refusing to show mercy. The wagon, once full of supplies and the promise of a fresh start, is now empty, save for a few scraps of food that you've rationed to last another day. It's become a symbol of how far you've fallen. The once sturdy wheels have started to crack, the wood warped from the relentless journey. The animals, too, have become weak. Their eyes, once full of energy, now look as hollow as yours. They, too, are exhausted, pushed to the brink by the long, unyielding path. Yet, like you, they keep moving, their bodies dragging across the land, fueled by nothing more than the will to survive. Your companions, too, are beginning to show signs of the strain. Some are still clinging to whatever hope they have left, eyes fixed on the horizon, believing that Oregon is just over the next hill, just beyond the next stretch of land. Others have begun to falter, the weight of the journey too much to bear. You see it in the way they walk, their heads low, their feet dragging in the dirt. It's as if the very act of putting one foot in front of the other has become an insurmountable task. Some of them talk about turning back, about giving up, but the words are never spoken out loud. Everyone knows that turning back is not an option. The trail has become a one-way journey, and there is no going home. The fear is palpable now, the fear of never reaching the end, of dying out here in the wilderness, far from any help or civilization. You can hear it in the voices of the others, in the quiet murmurs at night, in the way they cling to any shred of hope that remains. But even that hope is starting to fade. The once strong belief that Oregon was the promised land, a place of new beginnings, is slowly being replaced by the brutal reality of the trail. You wonder if anyone will make it. You wonder if you will. Historians have long debated the psychological toll of the journey. Was it the uncertainty that drove people to madness, or was it the constant pressure of survival that eventually broke them? Some say the promise of Oregon was enough to keep people going, but others argue that it was the sheer mental fatigue, the knowledge that you might die out here, that there was no guarantee of a better life, that wore settlers down. But no matter the cause, one thing is clear. The Oregon Trail did not just take lives, it took spirits. The people who set out on this journey were never the same by the time they reached the end, if they ever reached it at all. And still, you keep walking. There is nothing else to do. The trail has consumed you, body and soul. You are no longer the person who began this journey. That person was full of hope, full of dreams, and that person is long gone. Now, you are a traveler, a survivor, struggling to put one foot in front of the other, fighting for your life, hoping that somehow, someway, the trail will end. But you're not sure anymore. You don't know if there's anything left at the end of this road. You don't know if Oregon exists or if it's just a story people told to give them the strength to carry on. All you know is that right now, there's nothing to do but keep going. There is no stopping, no turning back, no choice but to keep walking. As you move forward, the air grows colder and the trail narrows. The landscape shifts again, and the sharp edges of the rocks now seem to threaten you, pressing in on you from all sides. The feeling of being swallowed whole by the land is overwhelming. You try to focus on your next step, on the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other, but your mind keeps drifting, kept alive by that small flicker of hope that burns deep inside you. Maybe the end is near. Maybe you're close. Maybe, just maybe, the promise of a new life is waiting for you. But even if it's not, you keep going. You must. Because in the end, survival is all that matters. Awaiting continue. Section 16. The weight of the journey has become a crushing presence now. A constant, ever-present burden that you carry with every step. The heat of the day is oppressive, and the cold of the night cuts straight through to your bones. Every part of your body aches, each movement slower, more deliberate than the last. But still, you walk. Even as the landscape begins to shift and change, becoming even more inhospitable, you keep moving. Because what else is there to do? The wind howls, stirring up the dust and grit, making it harder to breathe. It's as if the world itself is conspiring to wear you down, to strip away any last vestiges of strength or hope you might have left. The wagon creaks with every bump, its wheels grinding against the uneven earth. The oxen, exhausted and struggling, strain with every step, their hooves dragging through the dirt. You can hear the tired breaths of the animals as they labor on, and you wonder, not for the first time, if you're all just going to collapse here in the wilderness, forgotten by the world. The people you've been traveling with are in no better shape. You see them stumble, their faces drawn and weary, their eyes dull with the weight of what they've endured. Some have already given up, the spark of life extinguished by the unrelenting hardships of the trail. Others continue on, but you can see the cracks beginning to form, the quiet despair settling in. They are all struggling, just as you are, but none of you can stop. The trail offers no room for rest, no space for weakness. You can't afford to show any sign of defeat because if you do, the trail will swallow you whole. But there's something else creeping in as well. The silence. It's become a constant companion, an oppressive presence that hangs in the air. The once constant chatter of the camp is gone, replaced by an eerie quiet. The voices of children, once filled with laughter and excitement, are now hushed, muffled by the fear and uncertainty that grips everyone. The days pass without much conversation, and the nights are filled with restless sleep, broken by the occasional cough or cry. It's as if everyone has resigned themselves to the fact that this journey may never end, that you may never reach Oregon, that you're all just treading water, slowly sinking under the weight of it all. But still, you keep walking, even as the fatigue claws at you, even as the cold creeps under your skin, you keep moving. There's no other choice. The trail has become your world, the only reality you know. And yet somewhere deep inside, there's a faint flicker of something. Hope, maybe, or stubbornness, or some primal instinct to survive that keeps you going. You tell yourself that if you can just make it through today, then maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe tomorrow, the end will be just over the horizon. You tell yourself that there's still something worth fighting for, that there's still a reason to keep putting one foot in front of the other. But the days stretch on, and the land shows no mercy. The mountains rise in the distance, their jagged peaks like a challenge, daring you to conquer them. The riverbeds are dry, and the streams that once offered a fleeting moment of respite are now nothing more than cracked earth. Even the wild animals seem to have given up, their once familiar howls now silenced by the unforgiving landscape. The trail has become a wasteland, and you wonder if there's anything left beyond it, anything at all. Historians argue about what was most responsible for the hardships faced on the Oregon Trail. Some say the terrain itself was the greatest challenge, while others claim it was the uncertainty of the journey that wore down even the strongest settlers. Disease, hunger, weather, They all played their part, but in the end, it was the mental toll that seemed to break the spirit of the pioneers. The uncertainty, the never-ending doubt that there was any real reward at the end of this road weighed heavier than any physical danger. And yet, you still walk. There's no way to explain it, but there's something inside you that refuses to quit. Every step, no matter how painful, is a victory over the trail. Every day you survive is a defiance against the odds stacked against you. The Oregon Trail has tested you in ways you never thought possible, breaking you down, making you question everything. But you haven't given up. You're still here. The hope that Oregon might still be waiting for you feels distant now, like a fading star on the horizon. You're not sure if you believe in it anymore, but you keep moving forward. Because what choice do you have? What's the alternative? The end might be just around the corner, or it might be hundreds of miles away, but it doesn't matter. The journey has become the destination. And so with every ounce of strength you have left, you take another step, and another, and another. Awaiting continue. The days have become a blur, a monotonous procession of aching muscles, relentless hunger, and the constant hum of exhaustion that seems to penetrate your very soul. The landscape has changed yet again. What was once flat plains has now turned into rolling hills, each one a new challenge. The ground is uneven, rocky, and treacherous, and your wagon, creaking under the weight of the journey, seems more fragile with every bump and jolt. Your oxen, weary and broken, barely have the strength to pull it forward, and the sharp, dry wind that blows across the trail feels like it's scraping the skin from your bones. It's hard to remember a time when this journey wasn't all-consuming, a time when the sun on your face, the sound of the wind in the trees, or the feel of soft earth beneath your feet gave you a sense of peace. That person is gone now. You're just another traveler on this unforgiving path, another soul caught in the endless stretch of land that seems to drag on forever. The Oregon Trail has stripped you of your identity, leaving you only with the need to survive. And yet, somehow you keep going. There is no turning back. There's nothing to return to. The world behind you is nothing but a series of memories, of faces that are now distant, faded, and unreachable. The world ahead is unknown, but you are here, in the present, in this moment, where each step forward is both an act of defiance and a cry for mercy. You push on, because that's all you can do. The weight of the past is gone, and all that remains is the pull of the trail, the constant need to keep moving forward, even when you have no idea what waits ahead. You look around at the others, the people you've been traveling with, the ones who shared in your hopes and dreams when you first set out, are not the same. They've changed. You've all changed. The weariness, the hunger, the sickness. Each of you bears the marks of the trail, the indelible scars that will stay with you long after this journey ends. Some have already fallen by the wayside, their bodies left behind in shallow graves. Others are hanging on, barely able to keep up, but still pushing forward with the faintest glimmer of hope that the end is near. But you all know the truth. The end might not be near. It might never come at all. The journey has taken so much, your strength, your hope, your dignity. And yet, with each passing day, you find yourself clinging to the smallest things. The glimmer of sunlight on the horizon, the brief moments of cool wind that cut through the heat, the sound of laughter, faint as it is, from the children who have learned to find joy in the most insignificant things. It's not much, but it's something. It's enough to keep you going for now. But even those small moments are fleeting. The trail has a way of robbing you of everything you hold dear. What was once a simple pleasure now seems like a cruel joke. You've passed the halfway point, you think. But how long ago was that? Days? Weeks? It's hard to say. Time is something that slips away from you out here. There are no calendars, no clocks. You measure the passage of time by the exhaustion in your limbs, the growing hunger in your stomach, the constant presence of disease that seems to stalk you from behind every hill and around every bend. Historians often debate whether the Oregon Trail was a journey of ambition or a journey of survival. Some claim that the settlers were driven by a dream of a better life, a life of opportunity and land, while others argue that the majority were simply trying to escape hardship, to find something, anything, that could offer them a chance to begin again. But no matter the motivation, one thing is certain: the trail broke people. It didn't matter who you were, where you came from, or what you hoped to find. The Oregon Trail had a way of stripping everything away, leaving you with nothing but the barest urge to survive. And yet, somehow, you're still here. You're still walking, still pushing forward despite it all. The weight of the past, the uncertainty of the future, it all fades into the background as you focus on the simple act of survival. You know there's no guarantee. You know that Oregon may be a dream that will never be realized. But the alternative is too bleak to entertain. There's no turning back. There's no other choice but to keep going. Each day now feels like a test. You've become a part of the land, each step you take carved into the earth as though it's marking your existence. There are no more grand hopes. There are no more illusions about the future. You are simply surviving, and surviving is enough. For now, that's all you can ask for. Awaiting continue. Section 8. There's a certain numbness that has settled over you now, as though the long march has slowly worn down not just your body, but your very soul. Each day feels the same, an unbroken chain of hardship and toil, dragging you forward with no end in sight. The days that once seemed full of potential now pass in a blur. You can barely remember what it felt like to wake up with hope in your heart. The horizon no longer promises a future. It's just the next obstacle to overcome, the next stretch of land that must be traversed. The wind continues to blow, dry and unyielding, stinging your skin and filling your mouth with dust. You can taste it in the air, gritty, heavy, suffocating. The land has become more desolate, more unforgiving with every step. What was once wide open space is now a vast, barren desert, the kind of land where even the slightest trace of life seems a miracle. The streams that once gave you hope have dried up, and what little water remains is dirty and brackish, no better than the very earth you walk on. The oxen, already gaunt and worn, are struggling more than ever. They've pushed through endless miles of hard terrain, and now their strength is running out. You can hear the labored breathing of the animals, their sides heaving, their hooves dragging heavily across the land. You wonder, for the first time, if they'll make it. And then, you wonder the same about yourself. It's been so long since you felt strong. Your body is worn thin, your bones aching with every step. You have learned to ignore the hunger that gnaws at you, the thirst that burns your throat, but your body still feels the strain. The others around you are in similar shape, their faces hollowed out, their eyes dimmed with exhaustion. There are fewer and fewer conversations now, just the occasional word exchanged as you move along. Some have started to accept the reality of it all, that this might be their last journey, that Oregon might be nothing more than a myth, a dream that never materialized. The whispers have started about turning back, about going no further. But those whispers are always quickly swallowed by the silence. No one dares to speak aloud of turning back. There's no going back now. You've gone too far. And yet you feel the creeping despair, the fear that you might never reach the end. You've traveled for what feels like years, and still, the end is elusive. You have no idea how far you've gone. There's no sign of civilization on the horizon, no comforting thought that the end is near. You can only keep moving, one step after another, hoping that this time the horizon will reveal the promised land, a land of new beginnings, a land that will make this entire terrible journey worth it. But you can't shake the feeling that it might not be there at all. The land is too vast, too unforgiving, and the dream of Oregon has started to feel like a cruel illusion. It's hard to hold on to hope now. The fatigue is so deep, the sickness so overwhelming, that it feels like the very essence of life is slipping away. Your body is weak, but it's not just your body that's breaking down. The trail has broken something deeper inside of you. The constant strain, the endless march, the uncertainty, it has eroded the dreams you once held. You don't even remember what it was like to feel hopeful, to believe that the journey had meaning. Now it's just survival. It's about getting through the day, finding enough food to last another night, and somehow making it through another long, grueling stretch. But even now, as the land presses in around you and the trail seems endless, you continue to push forward. The instinct to survive, that primal drive that keeps you moving, refuses to let go. You can't stop now. You can't afford to. Even though you've lost track of time, even though your body feels like it's on the edge of giving out, you keep walking because there's no other choice. There's only the trail, and there's only forward. Historians still argue about what made the Oregon Trail so brutal. Was it the sheer size of the landscape, the constant dangers of disease, wildlife, and weather? Or was it the mental toll that crushed so many along the way? Some say it was the combination of all these factors, the unrelenting force of nature and the crushing weight of isolation. And maybe they're right. The Oregon Trail didn't just test your body, it tested your very will to keep going, to hold on to something when everything around you is falling apart. But in the end, it doesn't matter what historians think. What matters is that you're still here. You're still walking. You've made it this far, and for all you know, the end could be just around the corner. Maybe Oregon is waiting for you. Or maybe it's not. But right now, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep walking, one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do. Awaiting, continue. Section 19, the relentless march continues. It's hard to even recall how many days have passed since you first set foot on the trail. The concept of time has become distant, something that doesn't seem to matter anymore. It's just you, your wagon, and the unyielding path ahead, a path that stretches on forever. The hunger still gnaws at you, though you've learned to ignore it. The thirst is always there, a constant burning sensation in your throat. Yet it's the weariness that is the worst. The bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion that weighs you down, slowing your steps and clouding your thoughts. You see the others around you, their faces pale, their eyes sunken, their bodies fragile. It's clear to you now that no one is escaping this journey unscathed. The Oregon Trail doesn't care who you are, where you came from, or what you hope to achieve. It's only about survival, about making it through another day. You look around at your fellow travelers, the people you once shared conversations with, the ones who looked at the future with hope in their eyes. Now, they're just ghosts, moving forward out of sheer instinct, pushing through the endless pain because there is no other option. The wagon's wheels creak and groan under the weight of the journey. Your oxen barely have the strength to continue, their heads hanging low in exhaustion. Even they seem to have given up. The trail, which once felt like it was leading you somewhere, now feels like it's leading you nowhere, a vast, unchanging stretch of dust and rock. The dreams of fertile land, of opportunity, of a new life in Oregon, seem like a distant memory now. You wonder, as you glance around at the barren landscape, if you will ever see that land, if you will ever reach the end of this nightmare. But you know you can't stop. You've come too far. There's no turning back. You're stuck like the others, in this slow-moving hell where each step forward is a test of endurance. The idea of rest, of respite, is a foreign concept. You've learned to push through the fatigue, to ignore the aches in your muscles and the hunger in your stomach. The only thing you can think about is putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how painful it becomes. The weather does little to help. The heat of the day beats down on you, baking the earth beneath your feet. You feel the sweat dripping down your back, soaking your clothes. But at night, the cold is a cruel contrast. It seeps through the thin blankets, chilling your bones and leaving you shivering under the starry sky. The extremes of temperature are enough to wear down even the strongest. The Oregon Trail never lets you rest, never lets you feel at peace. It's a journey that keeps you in a constant state of discomfort, of tension, of survival. You've seen people fall along the way. Some succumb to sickness, some to exhaustion, some simply disappear, unable to carry on, swallowed by the land they once thought they could conquer. Their graves are scattered along the trail, silent markers of lives that were lost. It's a sobering sight, and each time you pass one, you can't help but wonder, when will it be your turn? When will you become just another forgotten soul, lying in the dirt along the path? You push that thought aside quickly. It's not something you can afford to dwell on. But as you look ahead, the trail still stretches on, and there's no sign of the end. No signs of the promised land, no towns or settlements offering relief. Just more barren land, more dust, more rocks. The journey feels endless, a slow, agonizing crawl towards something that might not even exist. The only thing keeping you moving forward is the faintest hope that there is something on the other side, that maybe, just maybe, all this suffering will be worth it. Historians have long debated the true cost of the Oregon Trail. Was it the physical toll, the diseases, the malnutrition, the exhaustion that killed so many settlers? Or was it the mental and emotional strain that finally broke them? The isolation, the fear, the constant uncertainty about whether this dream of a better life was even real. No one can say for sure. What's certain is that the trail, with all its challenges and hardships, left its mark on every person who walked it. It didn't just take lives, it took dreams, it took hope, and yet you keep going, one foot in front of the other. The instinct to survive is too strong to ignore. You've come too far to stop now. Even though the horizon feels like it might never end, even though every step feels like it could be your last, you continue to walk. Because there is nothing else. The Oregon Trail has become everything, and survival is all that matters. Awaiting continue. Section 20. Each step seems to draw you further into the depths of an endless wilderness. The land around you is unchanging, and with each day that passes, it begins to feel like time itself has warped, as if you're stuck in a loop with no escape. The sun rises and sets with no fanfare, just another blistering day followed by another freezing night. And yet, here you are, still moving, still walking. There's no clear purpose left anymore, other than to continue the endless march, driven by a single thought: you must survive. That's the only reason left. The promise of Oregon feels like a forgotten memory now, something that once gave you strength, but is now only a distant echo, fading more with each mile. You're not alone in this. The others around you still stagger forward, though you can see the toll it's taking on them. Some of them have lost so much weight that their clothes hang loosely on their frames, their faces hollow, their eyes blank. The chatter has all but stopped, replaced by the sounds of weary footsteps and the occasional cough or groan of someone in pain. There is no conversation, no camaraderie, just survival. You pass the occasional familiar face, someone you once spoke to with warmth and kindness, but now there's nothing but exhaustion in their eyes. They, too, are struggling. And maybe that's the hardest part, knowing that no one is immune to the toll this journey takes. You all are just walking corpses, trapped in a world that doesn't care if you live or die. The land has become even more desolate. You've passed through stretches of land where even the cacti, the hardy plants that should be able to survive in this dry, unforgiving terrain, are barely clinging to life. There's nothing to harvest here, no food to find, no shelter to speak of, only dirt, rock, and the oppressive weight of the sun. You feel like you're walking through a graveyard, surrounded by the remains of all those who have tried and failed before you. You can't even mourn for them. There's no time for mourning. It's all you can do to keep moving, to push forward with whatever strength is left inside you. The animals, too, are struggling. The oxen that once carried your supplies are reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. Their bones are visible beneath their matted fur, their movements slow and labored. They are as tired as you are, and sometimes you wonder if they too wish for the end to come. The wagon creaks louder now, and you can't help but feel the burden of every item still packed inside it. It's supposed to help you, to carry your supplies, but at this point it's just another weight. Every time you try to push it forward, you can feel the weight of your journey reflected in its groans. Every so often, you look back at the path you've traveled. It's as though it stretches into infinity, a never-ending line that leads nowhere. You wonder if the Oregon you dreamed of, the land of freedom and opportunity, was ever real. Maybe it was just a story to keep you walking, to keep you from realizing that you were already lost. But then you think about the others, about the families you've traveled with. Maybe they still hold on to the hope that something waits for them at the end of this journey, something that will make all the suffering worthwhile. You want to believe that too, but it's hard. The trail has taken so much from you, so much from everyone, and you're not sure there's anything left. Historians have long debated whether the trail's promise of a better life was ever truly achievable. Some believe that the dream of Oregon was merely a construct to justify the immense suffering people faced. Others argue that the potential for new land and opportunity was enough to push so many to endure the hardship. But the reality of the Oregon Trail is less about dreams and more about survival. The trail doesn't care about your ambitions. It only cares whether you can keep walking. And every step you take, every day you survive, is a victory, no matter how small. You, like the others, continue on, one foot in front of the other. The end of the trail still feels distant, perhaps further than it's ever been. And yet, there's a part of you that clings to the smallest shred of hope. There has to be something ahead. The only thing you can do is keep moving forward, step after grueling step. There is no grand victory in this journey. There is no celebration when you reach the end. The Oregon Trail isn't a story of triumph. It's a story of endurance, a story of survival in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. And even though the horizon seems no closer today than it did yesterday, even though you're not sure if the end will ever come, you push on, because it's all you have left. Awaiting continue. There's a stillness that settles over you now, like the calm before a storm, though you're not sure what that storm might be. The land is silent, save for the sound of your own footsteps and the occasional creak of the wagon. The wind, which once whipped through the trees with harsh ferocity, is now a quiet breath, barely enough to stir the dust beneath your feet. It's as though the world has stopped, suspended in time, waiting for something, anything to happen. But all you can do is keep walking. Each step is a battle, but you've learned to fight it, to push through, because you have no choice. There is nothing else. It's hard to remember what it felt like before the trail, before this unending journey. The faces of those you once loved, the towns and homes you left behind, now feel like ghosts, their edges blurred by the years of hardship. Your memories, once vivid, are now faded, softened by the dust of the trail. You wonder if it's because your body is worn thin, or if the journey itself is slowly erasing the past, pushing everything you once knew further away. You don't even remember what it felt like to be full, to rest without the constant weight of the trail pressing down on you. The landscape ahead is no different from the one behind you. More hills, more dust, more barren earth. The sky seems to stretch endlessly above, a vast expanse of blue that offers no comfort, no shade. The sun beats down without mercy, its harsh light reflecting off the dry earth and making the world shimmer in a haze. You squint into the distance, searching for something, a sign, a landmark, a promise of something different. But all you see is the same empty stretch of land. It's as though the trail has become the entirety of your world. There is nothing else. No past, no future, just this. And yet, you keep walking. You have no other choice. The others in your group are not much different from you. They're worn, tired, their faces hollowed out by days, months, maybe even years of trudging through this unforgiving terrain. There are no conversations anymore, no idle chatter to break up the endless monotony of the trail. Everyone is too tired, too consumed by the journey. Instead, there are only nods of acknowledgement, quiet gestures of solidarity as you pass each other, your eyes meeting for just a moment before you look away. There is nothing left to say. The children, once full of laughter and joy, have grown silent, their faces pinched with hunger, their steps dragging with the weight of the journey. You see them looking around at the land, at the adults, with confusion in their eyes. They are too young to fully understand what is happening, but they can feel it, just as you do. The trail is wearing them down, taking its toll on their young bodies and minds, and you wonder if they will ever know what it's like to feel safe again. You wonder, too, if they'll ever know what it means to have a home, to have a place that isn't defined by constant walking, constant striving for something just out of reach. Every so often, you pass a fellow traveler, someone you've seen before, and you know they're feeling the same way. Their eyes show it. Their movements are sluggish, their bodies slumped with exhaustion. You no longer bother to speak to them. There's nothing to say. You know they're struggling just like you are. You know they're carrying the same heavy burden of uncertainty, the same fear that maybe, just maybe, this will be the day that everything collapses. But still, you keep moving forward, and so do they. The oxen are barely able to keep up now. Their steps are slow, their eyes glazed with exhaustion, their bodies covered in sores from the harsh journey. Every so often, one stumbles, struggling to regain its footing, and you stop, holding your breath, hoping it will get back up. The animals have carried you this far, and you wonder how long they will be able to carry you for. There's nothing to be done. You push them forward, urging them on, hoping that somehow they'll find the strength to keep going, just as you must. They, too, are part of this relentless march, just as worn down, just as lost in the wilderness as you are. Historians often speak of the brutality of the Oregon Trail, the relentless days of walking, the physical toll of the journey, the disease, the malnutrition, the fear. But they rarely speak of what it does to the soul. How the endless stretch of barren land strips away everything you once were, until all that remains is a hollow shell, a body that moves because it has no other choice. How the dream of Oregon, once full of hope and possibility, fades away until it's just another casualty of the trail, lost in the dust. You think about the end, but the truth is, you can no longer imagine it. You can no longer picture what it will look like when you get there, if you even get there. You've heard stories of other travelers who made it, of those who arrived at Oregon's doorstep, tired and broken, only to find that what they had imagined was nothing like the reality they faced. Some returned home, others settled, but found their new lives just as difficult as the one they had left behind. You wonder if that will be your fate. You wonder if it's worth it at all. But still, you keep moving forward. The journey, for all its pain, has become your life. It's all you know now. And no matter what waits ahead, there is nothing left but to continue the fight. One foot after the other. The horizon stretches on, unyielding, and you take another step. Word count, awaiting continue. Section 22. The end of the Oregon Trail remains as elusive as ever, and the idea of it is beginning to feel more like a fairy tale than a real destination. The exhaustion you've carried for so long now weighs on you like a cloak of lead. You've lost track of how many days you've been walking, how many weeks you've spent dragging your body through this unforgiving land. There's no longer any real sense of time. The trail has become everything, and the outside world, the world you left behind, is fading, a distant memory that no longer holds much significance. You feel it in your bones, the gnawing weariness, the aching limbs, the sickness that you're sure is waiting just around the corner. It's as though you've crossed some invisible threshold, and now your body is not quite yours anymore. Every part of you feels like it's been worn down, chipped away by the long, unrelenting journey. You look at the others, and you see the same in them. Their faces are drawn, their steps slow and labored, the fire that once burned in their eyes, now a faint flicker. The children who were once full of curiosity and life are now silent, their faces dull and tired. Some of the older travelers have already succumbed, their bodies buried by the side of the trail. You can hear their voices in the wind, a ghostly reminder of those who couldn't survive. Still, you push on. There's no choice. You know that if you stop, even for a moment, it's over. The land has a way of swallowing those who falter. It doesn't care about your story, your hopes, or your dreams. It only cares about survival, and survival is a harsh, unforgiving task. You don't know what the end of the trail looks like anymore. You don't know if there's anything left at the end, but all you can do is keep walking. It's the only thing that keeps you moving. Survival. The days drag on in a blur. The sun is brutal during the day, its heat beating down mercilessly, and the nights offer little relief. The cold seeps through the thin blankets you've been using to shield yourself from the elements. You shiver through the night, your body too tired to fight the chill. The wind howls through the camp, rattling your bones, and the sound of the wagon's wheels creaking beneath the weight of its contents is a constant reminder that you're still here. The oxen, once strong and sturdy, now move only out of sheer force of habit. They too are exhausted, skin and bone, their eyes vacant, their movements sluggish. Yet, the journey continues. The trail offers no pause, no moment of reprieve. You can see the others growing weaker, their bodies worn down by the same hardships that have taken their toll on you. The hunger, the thirst, the relentless heat, it's all become a constant companion. And in some ways, it's the only thing that's left to remind you that you're alive. The quiet moments, the stillness between the storms of hardship, are few and far between. Even the air seems heavy with despair, the weight of it pressing down on you. And still, you keep going. You cling to that faint thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, There's something ahead. Maybe there's a town, a fort, a settlement waiting to offer you the relief you so desperately need. Maybe Oregon, that promised land, is just over the next hill, just beyond the next stretch of dry, cracked earth. But the truth is, you don't know. And the longer the journey stretches on, the harder it is to remember why you even started. Was it the land, the promise of something new? Or was it just the instinct to survive, to keep moving forward when everything around you tells you to stop? You look around at the others and wonder if they too are asking the same questions. The uncertainty has crept into their hearts, just as it has into yours. They've seen the graves along the trail, the bodies of those who didn't make it, and it's impossible to ignore the nagging thought that it could just as easily be you. And yet, none of you stop. You keep moving, one foot in front of the other, because that's all there is left to do. Historians debate whether the settlers of the Oregon Trail ever truly believed in the promise of a better life at the end. Some say that the dream of Oregon kept people going, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Others argue that it was survival, pure and simple, that drove people to continue. The truth is, no one knows for sure. What is certain is that the Oregon Trail was not just a physical journey. It was a mental and emotional crucible that tested every person who walked it. It broke people, it changed them, and for many, it claimed their lives. But here you are, still walking, still moving forward. There is nothing left but the trail, and maybe, just maybe, there is something at the end. Or maybe, like so many before you, the trail will never end. But either way, you continue, because that's what you do. You survive. Awaiting continue. Section 23. The air seems to hang heavy with the weight of your exhaustion. You're not sure if it's the endless miles or the crushing weight of uncertainty, but something about the journey feels even more unbearable now. Every day, the sun rises and every night it sets, but it all blurs into a monotonous cycle, devoid of distinction, one long day blending into another. Even the hope of reaching Oregon fades, replaced by a dull resignation, a quiet understanding that the journey might just be the journey itself. The end, once so eagerly anticipated, has become an abstract notion, a dream that slips through your fingers each time you think it's within reach. It's not just the exhaustion that wears you down, though. It's the complete lack of control over your situation. You can't escape the trail. You can't outrun the land, the weather, the sickness. Every time you think you've overcome one hurdle, another one emerges, larger and more daunting than before. There's no way to rest, no way to take a break. The land demands that you keep moving. The path won't relent. And it's suffocating. You long for a moment of peace, for the relief of knowing that the end is finally in sight. But the land just stretches on. It doesn't care about your weariness, about your desire to stop and rest, to breathe without feeling like you're suffocating under the weight of the journey. The others seem to feel it too. The quiet murmurs of complaints and fears that used to fill the camp have diminished, replaced by a grim silence that seems to stretch as far as the trail does. You glance around at the faces of those still walking beside you. Some are barely moving, their bodies giving out, their feet dragging behind them as though the earth itself has become too heavy to lift. Others still cling to hope, their faces set with grim determination, trying to push forward despite their exhaustion. They all carry the same burden. No one talks about it anymore. It's just understood that there's nothing left to say. There's only the road, the endless miles of dust and rocks that seem to stretch forever. The animals are in even worse shape. The oxen, once proud and strong, now move with an almost robotic weariness. They struggle to pull the wagons, their bodies gaunt, their bones visible beneath their fur. The once sure rhythm of their hooves has slowed, and every step they take seems labored, as if the land itself is draining their life force. You wonder if they, too, have lost the will to continue, if they have given up as much as you have. But still, they keep moving, just like you do. The landscape seems to mock your every step. What little vegetation you see is sparse, dried up, and struggling to survive. The earth is cracked, parched, the surface desolate and barren. There are no rivers to drink from, no streams to cool your body, no trees to offer shade. It's as though the world itself has turned against you, offering nothing but emptiness. You look up at the horizon, but it offers no answers, no comfort. The mountains you once thought were distant now loom closer, their jagged peaks almost within reach, but even they seem to taunt you. Every time you think you've crossed the last hill, another rises in front of you, as though the journey will never end. Historians argue about what drove people to keep going. Was it the dream of Oregon, of land and opportunity, that pushed them forward? Or was it something more primal, the need to survive at all costs, the refusal to admit that the journey might never have been worth it? Some say it was the land itself that broke people down, while others believe it was the toll of isolation and fear, the constant uncertainty that wore down the mind. Whatever the cause, one thing is clear: the Oregon Trail changed everyone who walked it. Some were broken by it, others were transformed, but none were ever the same. You look around at your fellow travelers and wonder what has changed in them. Are they the same people they were when they set out? Are you? It's impossible to say. The land strips away everything you once were, the dreams, the hopes, the ambitions, and leaves behind only the desire to keep moving, to keep surviving. And yet, even as the trail wears you down, you can't let go of the thought that maybe, just maybe, the end is in sight. Maybe, beyond that next hill, beyond the next stretch of barren land, there's something waiting. But it's hard to believe it now. It's hard to hold on to the hope that Oregon still exists, that the promises of a new life haven't been buried by the weight of this journey. Still, you walk, one step at a time.
Awaiting Kenyu.
Section 24. The further you travel, the harder it becomes to see any difference between the days. The land offers no variation, just more of the same endless expanse of rock, dust, and dry earth. The sun beats down relentlessly, its heat oppressive, a constant weight on your back. The nights are cold, sharp, cutting into you as you lie under the meager shelter you've managed to build. Your body is losing its battle against the journey. Each movement, each step more difficult than the last. The pain in your legs, your back, your feet has become a constant presence, one that you no longer even register as it grows. You push forward out of habit, more than anything else. The instinct to survive still has its grip on you, even if you can no longer remember why. The people you've traveled with have become a mirror of yourself. You watch them, their faces hollow and tired, their movements slow and measured, and realize that they're not just physically exhausted, they're emotionally and mentally drained as well. The journey has taken something from all of you, slowly wearing away the spark that first pushed you forward. The hunger and the sickness, the constant uncertainty, the desperate hope that each day might bring you closer to Oregon, have left their marks. And now there's nothing left but the will to survive. No grand dream of a better future. No ambition to start anew. Just the need to keep moving, even when there's no certainty that it's worth it. The oxen are barely able to continue. Their steps are sluggish, their eyes vacant, their bodies so thin that you can see the bones beneath their skin. They strain with each pull of the wagon, and when one stumbles or falters, you hold your breath, hoping they'll rise again. But even the oxen are breaking, just like the rest of you. They no longer carry the weight of hope or of expectation. They simply carry the wagon forward, one step at a time, without purpose, without promise. The trail stretches on, and you start to realize that you don't know what you're walking toward anymore. What was once a dream of a new life in Oregon has become a cruel illusion, something you no longer have the strength to believe in. And yet, you continue forward. You've come too far to stop now. The thought of turning back seems just as impossible as moving forward, as though the trail has claimed you, and the only way out is to continue pushing forward until there's nothing left. You look around at the others, wondering if they feel the same way. You've all become ghosts of who you once were. The people you once were, the ones full of excitement and anticipation for what lay ahead, are gone. All that's left is the shadow of a dream, a fragment of something that no longer seems real. And still, the trail stretches on. The promise of Oregon feels farther and farther away with every step, the horizon stretching before you like an endless road with no clear destination. But despite it all, you keep moving. Every step is a battle. Every step is an act of defiance against the trail that has broken you, against the world that seems to have abandoned you. You can't stop. you can't give up. There's nothing left to do but survive. And so you push on, through the dust, through the heat, through the hunger and thirst, through the pain and the fear. The world around you has grown cold, indifferent, but you keep going. It's all you can do. Historians argue about what motivated the settlers of the Oregon Trail to continue, even when the odds were so stacked against them. Was it hope? Was it stubbornness? Or was it something deeper, some primal instinct to survive at all costs? No one can say for sure, but the fact remains that for many, the trail was not about reaching Oregon. It was about surviving the journey itself. It was about enduring the hardships, pushing forward in the face of overwhelming odds, and simply not giving up, even when the end seemed impossible to reach. And so you continue. Awaiting, continue. Section 25. The days blend into each other now, indistinguishable from one another in their misery. Each step forward feels as though it's part of a dream, one where time has no meaning and the world is too vast to understand. The Oregon Trail, once a symbol of hope and opportunity, has become your prison. You no longer see the promise of a new life at the end of this journey. It's not a dream you're chasing anymore. It's survival. And survival, it turns out, is more exhausting than you ever could have imagined. The land is harsh, and you've become attuned to its cruelty. The dust that has followed you for so long clings to your skin, your eyes, your throat. You feel dirty, worn down, hollow. Every day the same thought runs through your mind. Just keep moving. It's all you can do. There's no longer any question of when you'll arrive. It's only a matter of whether you can make it through the day, the week, the next step. You look at the others around you. The faces that once looked full of life and promise are now shadowed by fatigue, desperation, and doubt. The children, who once played and laughed in the evenings, are silent now, their energy drained by the same forces that have sapped the strength from the adults. The conversation has stopped. There is no talk of Oregon anymore, no discussion of what lies ahead. Everyone is focused on one thing: surviving. The only noise that fills the air is the sound of footsteps, of creaking wagons, of labored breaths as people push forward, hoping for something, anything, to give them relief. The animals, too, have become shadows of their former selves. The oxen strain with each step, their bodies barely able to carry the load anymore. Their ribs stick out from their sides, and their eyes are empty, as though they too are simply going through the motions. You urge them on, but there's no joy in it. There's no hope in it. It's just the endless grind of survival. You can't help but wonder if the animals are wondering too, if the end is ever coming, or if they are like you, trapped in this unrelenting march through a barren land. But still, you walk. The trail does not stop for your weariness. It does not stop for the tears that have long since dried up, or the doubts that have crept into your mind. The trail keeps moving, and you have no choice but to keep moving with it. Your body is breaking down, and your mind is not far behind. There's a numbness to it now, a quiet resignation that settles deep inside you. It's not just the land that has changed you, it's the journey itself. The relentless passage of time, the constant pressure of survival, the isolation from everything familiar, has hollowed you out. The horizon ahead still looks like it always has, just another stretch of land, dry and empty, stretching as far as the eye can see. And yet you keep walking, because what else can you do? What else is there? You've come so far, endured so much. What's one more step, one more mile? What's the point of stopping when stopping means certain death? The trail is your life now. The end, whatever it is, doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is that you keep walking. You begin to wonder if the promise of Oregon was ever real. Maybe it was just a story told to keep people moving, to keep them believing that something better was waiting for them. But as the days drag on, the possibility of something better seems less and less likely. It's hard to believe in anything anymore, but you keep walking. Historians often speak of the resilience of those who traveled the Oregon Trail, of how they pushed through adversity, braving the elements and sickness to reach their goal. They tell stories of the sacrifices people made to get to Oregon, of the triumph over hardship, of the dreams fulfilled when they finally arrived. But what they don't often talk about is what it takes to survive when there's no reward in sight. What they don't talk about is how the journey itself, The brutal reality of survival can strip away everything you once believed in until all that's left is the will to survive. And so you keep going. The end may never come, or it may be just around the next bend, but either way, you keep walking, because that's all there is. That's all there ever was. End of script. Sweet dreams.